In 1984, America heard a familiar voice on the radio. Not a politician, not a pundit. It was a man who played Jed Clampett, publicly attacking his own co-star. And in that moment, Nancy Kulp realized something painful. All those years of silence had bought her nothing. Today, we're uncovering the hidden life of the woman behind Miss Jane Hathaway, and why her story is far sadder than anyone ever imagined. Most people remember Nancy Kulp as the sharp, unshakable secretary on the Beverly Hillbillies. Perfect posture, precise voice, always cleaning up everyone else's mess. But that calm exterior hid a life built on discipline, war service, professional isolation, and deeply private heartbreak. Nancy wasn't a Hollywood dreamer. She was a survivor, and that made her dangerous in an industry that preferred women to be decorative. Part 1. Raised on rules, not comfort. Nancy was born in Pennsylvania in 1921 to parents who believed in structure above emotion. Her mother was an educator. Her father worked for the government. In their home, intelligence mattered more than charm. Feelings weren't discussed. Achievement was expected. From childhood, Nancy learned something most girls weren't taught back then. If you want safety, earn it through competence. She grew tall, serious, and intellectually sharp, qualities that helped her in school, but quietly set her apart socially. Instead of shrinking herself, Nancy leaned harder into education. She studied journalism, then English and French at graduate level. Words mattered to her. Accuracy mattered. Control mattered. This wasn't personality. It was armor. Part 2. The war changed everything. During World War II, Nancy joined the U.S. Navy through waves. She served as an officer in aviation administration, a job demanding flawless precision under pressure. No softness, no mistakes. In the military, she learned a brutal truth. Being excellent doesn't guarantee acceptance. It only guarantees survival. That lesson stayed with her forever. When she later entered Hollywood, she didn't arrive wide-eyed. She arrived prepared. Part 3. Hollywood wouldn't let her lead. Nancy's early career was filled with respected films. She appeared in Shane, A Star is Born, The Three Faces of Eve, and Disney's The Aristocats. She also guest starred on shows like I Love Lucy and Maverick. But here was the pattern. She was always competent, always memorable, never promoted to leading lady. Hollywood quietly decided. Too tall, voice too low, presence too serious. Nancy became the woman who supported everyone else's story, never her own. Part 4. Becoming Miss Jane Hathaway. Everything changed in 1962. Nancy was cast as Jane Hathaway, the bank secretary on the Beverly Hillbillies. Miss Jane wasn't loud. She was the adult in the room. She handled paperwork while others chased chickens. She explained money while chaos reigned. Nancy played her with surgical restraint. No wasted movement. No exaggerated punchlines. Audiences loved her. The show became a ratings monster. Nancy earned an Emmy nomination. But fame came with a trap. She didn't become Nancy Kulp. She became Miss Jane. When the series ended in 1971, Hollywood didn't see a seasoned actress. They saw a character who no longer had an office. Roles dried up. Part 5. The co-star who turned on her. Behind the scenes, Nancy had long-standing tension with Buddy Ebsen, who played Jed Clampett. They were professional on set, but philosophically they were opposites. Nancy believed in education, systems, and progressive ideas. Buddy leaned conservative and traditional. For years, Nancy stayed silent to keep the show running smoothly. Then came 1984. At 62 years old, Nancy ran for Congress in Pennsylvania. She campaigned on education, healthcare, and environmental protection. And Buddy Ebsen publicly recorded radio ads attacking her, supporting her opponent. Not quietly, repeatedly, broadcast statewide. Nancy was devastated. She later said, "He was not the kind, decent Jed Clampett people thought he was." She lost the election. Years later, Buddy apologized. Nancy accepted, but the damage had already been done. Part 6. A private life the world wasn't ready for. Nancy married once in the early 1950s. The marriage ended quietly. She never remarried. In an era obsessed with conformity, she was labeled a confirmed bachelor, coded language that hinted at her sexuality. Nancy never officially came out, but friends later confirmed she was part of the LGBTQ+ community. She lived carefully. Hollywood wasn't safe for honesty back then. Instead, she built a life around work, close friendships, animals, and teaching. She eventually became a demanding theater professor, pushing students to think deeply about why they performed, not just how. To them, she wasn't a TV star. She was a disciplinarian who cared. Part 7, a quiet, lonely ending. In 1990, Nancy was diagnosed with cancer. Treatment was brutal. She lived alone. No children. No spouse. Her final months were measured in medication schedules and shrinking energy. Friends said she avoided pity. She spoke plainly. She reflected on her early divorce, her failed political run, relationships that never healed. No drama, just clarity. Nancy Kulp passed away in 1991. No spotlight, no applause. She was laid to rest back in Pennsylvania. Actionable takeaways. What Nancy Kulp's life teaches us. Her story leaves us with hard truths. Intelligence doesn't always get rewarded. Silence can protect you until it doesn't. Playing the supporting role long enough can make others forget you're human. Integrity sometimes costs more than compromise. Nancy didn't chase popularity. She chose dignity. Nancy Kulp wasn't remembered because she was glamorous. She's remembered because she stood firm in a system that constantly tried to soften her. Miss Jane Hathaway wasn't just a character. She was a reflection of a real woman who held everything together while carrying her own quiet battles. So let me ask you, when you think of Nancy Kulp, do you remember a scene or just a feeling? If this story moved you, share your thoughts below. And if you want more deep, emotional stories from classic Hollywood, subscribe because some lives were lived bravely, even when they weren't lived loudly.